Okay, functions lesson 4 for foundations in pre-cal 10. So now we're going to use the function notation, okay? And it's basically the same thing as using equations that we have. We just have the different notation, okay? Let's just do an example. So candle manufacturer found that their long-last candles melted according to the formula h of t equals negative 2t plus 12, where h is the height of the candle in centimeters after t hours. So if you look at this h of t here, that makes sense. That's the height after t hours, right? That makes more sense than, well, you wouldn't use y, but you could use h. I guess it makes exactly much sense as the h. But I guess it's a little bit more explicit that that's the height after t time. So again, we're not going to use a graphing calculator for this because we can graph this by making a table. We can pick some values for h or for t and then calculate what our h of t is going to be. But for this one, if we think about this, it's a candle that's melting. So we can, rather than picking numbers and seeing what happens, we can find what it is when the time is 0, when the candle's brand new. And then we can solve this for when the y value or the height is 0. So the candle has burned down to nothing, right? This is another strategy that we had for graphing lines. So if I make my t 0, then I've got 2 times, hang on, I'm just going to fix something. Okay, I've got my my circle around my pointer back. I think that's easier for you guys to follow. So up here, if I put t equals 0 in here, I get minus 2 times 0 is 0 plus 12. So this is going to be 12. So my height at time 0, so this is my t and this is my h of t. That's always the case, right? Because this is my input and h of t is my function. My maximum value here is going to be 12 because that's when t equals 0. And then if I go h of t is minus 2t plus 12, and I make this 0 equals minus 2t plus 12. And then I add 2t to both sides. I get 2t equals 12, and then I solve that. I get t equals 6. So 6 is going to be 6. This is 6 hours, t in hours. And this is in centimeters. Okay. And then I can graph it like that, right? And determine the value of h of 5. Well, I could read that if I had an actual graph with grids on it, I could do that with off the graph, but I can't really do that off of this one because there's no grids provided. But I can use a calculator, or I mean, use the formula. So h of 5 rather, let's make that right. So h of 5 equals minus 2 times 5 plus 12. So that's minus 2 times 5 is 10, negative 10 plus 12, so that's 2. So there's my answer is 2. And what does this mean? It means that the height of the candle after 5 hours, after burning, I guess, burning for 5 hours is 2 centimeters. Evaluate the following and explain the significance of each. Well, we already did this h of 0, so that equals 12, and that's the starting height of the candle. That's the height at time 0. h of 6, we did that as well, and that was 0. I should put the 6 over here. And that is the, it means that height after 6 hours of burning. Equals 0 centimeters. There's nothing left. And h of 8, well, if we were to calculate that, we would get h, it's minus 2 times 8 plus 10 plus 12. So that's minus 16 plus 12 equals -4. It doesn't dims. That's what I have written down. Doesn't dims. That doesn't make sense. No meaning. This has no meaning in the context of the question. Okay, because our candle can't burn down to negative heights. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't mean anything. Okay, so it doesn't have any meaning. Okay. How long will it take for the candle to burn down to 7 centimeters? Well, that means that our H, or sorry, not F, we're looking for H, H of some time is 7, because that's the Y we're looking for, right? So 7 equals minus 2t plus 12, and that gives me, I'll show you the algebra here. I go plus 2t and plus 2t, and I also go minus 7 and minus 7. I end up with 2t equals 5, so t equals 2.5. So the answer is 2.5 hours. And suggest an appropriate domain and range for this function. Well, the domain is going to be t such that the time is going to go, it's going to be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 6, because it doesn't make sense to go past that. And t can be any real number within there. And my range is going to be h of t such that the height is going to go from 0 is greater than, that my h of t is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 12, because that was the starting height of my triangle, where h of t is an element of the real numbers as well. Okay, and just note that we did it in h of t, h of t, h of t, not y, because we weren't working with y in this, we were looking with h of t. Also note that although if you look at the graph, the range goes, I mean, you could say it starts at 12 and then it goes down to 0, but we always do it when we're writing out our domain and range, we always write it as smallest to biggest, okay, just like we do on the number line or wherever else, okay. Now, just let me have a quick look at the questions. You should be able to graph these, yeah, there's no parabolas. Oh, just skip question 4, okay? Just omit question 4. Do 1 to 3, and I mean, if you wanted to do number 4, do use Desmos or something to graph it. But you're, yeah, don't bother with number 4. Okay. All right. Bye.